Hi Michelle, it's Gregory Scott here. Thank you for asking me to do this reading for you. It's really nice to be with you today. Um, I have checked your emails, and what's interesting to me, or what's actually confused me a little bit, is that you changed the time of this reading, but you chose a video, so the time doesn't really matter. Because obviously I'm doing a video and we're not talking to each other live. So I hope that doesn't cause any confusion. When you booked it, you did choose a video. So hopefully that's what you actually wanted. But it seems pretty straightforward because you're asking about work and career. So that totally works. I can answer that for you. I don't need to speak to you directly about that. Okay, so I've drawn up your chart. I have got, where are we? I've got the 12th of February 1977. That's at 12:12 p.m. And that's in, excuse the pronunciation, is it Euclid, Ohio? Okay, great. So you've got a bachelor's degree in elementary education. You didn't enjoy it. And now you're doing a retail position and it's barely above minimum wage. I've had that same experience. It is so demoralizing to be educated and then to do a minimum wage job. You enjoy that work though, you're good at it, but you're not earning what you want. So you're trying to figure out what you want to do, but you don't want to choose another loser again. You want guidance on career path. Okay, so let's look at that then. In terms of your, I'm glad you asked me this because astrology is so useful for this kind of question. So your chart, your rising sign is Gemini. The rising sign is what you're naturally like, and it's your default setting. Okay, so if there's a situation where you have to react really quickly, where you have to make a gut decision, you will react the way a Gemini would react. Gemini is an air sign. It is all about information, discovering new information, understanding. If you look at the glyph of Gemini, it's a Roman numeral 2. It's like a doorway. It's about walking through doorways to become enlightened, to understand. So Geminis often have a sense that if I learn enough, if I discover enough, I will get to this place of understanding, enlightenment, and I've just got to keep plodding on. And that's what you're kind of doing here with this search for career, because you know that there's a career out there for you that really works, and I can totally echo that for you. And you're not going to give up until you find what it is you're looking for. Your rising sign is at 11. 11 is a master number, and it's the master number of service, okay? So what that says to me already is that on some level, you're going to communicate with people to be of service to humanity. So the teaching may have been a way of doing that, just not the right format, but in terms of the content or what you're trying to achieve, it would have been spot on. So because your rising sign is Gemini, your chart is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the planet of communication, information exchange, and that is your chart ruler. So the first thing to be aware of that then is, because Mercury plays such a powerful role in your chart, that Mercury retrogrades do affect you. They do have an impact on you, so watch out for the one coming at the end of this month. Mercury itself is in Aquarius in your 9th house of education. So again, very positive placement. Mercury, the communication planet in an air sign, means it can actually communicate, exchange information. And you're concerned with you and the relationship you have with other people, and how you can use your training, your intelligence, your education, your skills, your knowledge to help humanity in some way. So both of these things are saying you want to be of service to people. Your moon, where's your moon? Your moon is in Sagittarius in the 7th house. The moon is what you're nurtured by and what you're comforted by. And Sagittarius also has to do with education and learning. It's about exploring the world, broadening your horizons, both in a physical, practical sense, so traveling, meeting different people, cultures, but also in an intellectual, higher realm sense, so learning, discovering things, understanding, education, theology, spirituality, all of those things to discover what the world is about. And that's what nurtures you and makes you feel comfortable. So you're most comfortable when you're learning yourself. You love to learn. You love discovering new things. So education, again, wouldn't have been totally off because you're surrounded and you're in an environment of learning, which would that environment is good for you, but rather than learning yourself, you're teaching kids, which isn't really what you're looking to do because you'd rather learn stuff for yourself. Your midheaven is in Aquarius. The midheaven is a wonderful indicator of what your vocational aptitudes are. So I want to read you a very comprehensive list of vocations associated with your midheaven and what these vocations that I'm going to read to you, you're going to have a natural aptitude and you're going to naturally be good at all of these. So, vocations associated with this Aquarian midheaven are those dealing with progress and invention. Inventors, scientists, educators, researchers, astrologers, social workers, psychologists, futurists, humanitarians, social reformers, United Nations workers, employees of world relief organizations, future-oriented occupations, airplane pilots, aviators, parachutists, hang glider pilots, solar energy researchers, physicists, radio and television technicians, electricians, electrical engineers. So combined with your rising sign in Gemini, your moon in Sagittarius, your sun in Aquarius, and your midheaven in Aquarius. Oh, I didn't even mention your sun. Your sun is really your identity. It's what's central to who you are. And your sun is again in Aquarius. So you're a triple air. You've got rising in air, sun in air, midheaven in air. The only thing that's different is Sagittarius, that's fire. So your sun in Aquarius, that's what energizes you, that's what makes you feel alive, that makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. And your sun, Michelle, is in your 10th house of career. So your work and your personality are interlocked, strongly connected. And for you to feel like you're in the right place, you feel good about yourself, you have a purpose in your life, you need to have a career that is meaningful and positive. It's a central part to your personality. So the fact that you're struggling to find what you're supposed to be doing must be massively difficult for you, and you must feel so frustrated with this whole process. So combining all of these things, there are a couple of boxes you have to tick. First of all, you have to be in a position in a job where there's information and you can learn and use your skills and academic skills. The second thing that has to be there is that there's scope for ongoing learning, that you continue to expand and grow so that you don't get bored of it and you can feel like you're always progressing with this work. And then finally, the other box that you have to tick is that your job is of service to humanity in some way. Okay, so the education, again, I don't think you were totally off. Maybe the very little kids that you were working with, that was off because, let me just check your email again. Because working with little kids, and you were with elementary education. Is elementary little kids? I think so, yeah. That's more Cancer, that's more water, because you have to nurture them. I mean, you're not really educating them so much as telling them to sit down and giving them handkerchiefs to blow their noses and patting them on the back when they're crying. It's more like nursing, caring. So education would work better for you at a higher level. High school at a minimum, college, university, you'd be much better at that, okay? So that's one option, because you're working with information, you continue to learn, I suppose. It's not a perfect fit because you're teaching rather than learning for yourself, and you're helping humanity in some way. Those are the three things. Now, I don't know if you've considered this, Michelle, but you would make an excellent astrologer. You could certainly do what I do. I don't know if you've ever thought along those lines, because what you could do is you could use your intellect to learn astrology. And astrology is never ending, so you could always learn more and continue and continue. That ticks both of those boxes. And you're working with humanity to help people. You're telling them about their soul, because the chart is a blueprint of the soul. You're telling them what their aptitudes are, what they're good at, what they can do to achieve. Okay, so that's the other option. And then finally, I would suggest, science, you'll know whether you're scientific or not. That certainly would fit in, but that's really an inclination. I mean, in terms of your chart, you certainly have the intellectual ability to be a scientist, but whether you want to do that, only you will know that. But the other thing I would suggest is working in some sort of social function, like for the United Nations or for a world relief organization like the Red Cross or the Red Crescent, something like that. Or even as a social worker. So you're working with people, you're engaging with people to help them, support them, you're exchanging information, and you can continue to learn as you progress. So that's the other thing I would suggest you're very good at. Okay, let's try and narrow this down even more. Your South Node is in Aries in your 12th house. So in a past lifetime, you were a spiritual leader already. You were someone who actually had very unique ideas that weren't socially accepted, and I think you were punished for what you were teaching people, that they could contact God themselves, that they didn't need a middleman, and I think you were punished for that. And because of that, I think you're very reluctant to speak out your own message. The thing about this, Michelle, is I think the other reason why elementary education didn't work for you is because as a teacher, you're just facilitating information that's already there. Like for instance, I'm a maths teacher, I take the maths syllabus, calculus, whatever, and I pass it through myself and pass it on to the kids. There's an element here that information, yes, you do want to facilitate information, but there's also got to be the scope for you to put yourself into that. And astrology, yes, you could work with people and teach them to some extent, but also you could use that to give your personal ideas and to connect with people one-to-one. It's much more actually about using the information rather than just teaching it and passing it along. Do you see what I mean? Your North Node is in Libra in your 6th house, and what you're trying to achieve is you're trying to connect with other people and to make their lives better spiritually by exchanging information. I think astrology, again, would be perfect for that. So I don't know if you've ever considered it, but you'd certainly be very, very good at that. And that would be a job that you could have for life. Because with your sun in the 10th in Aquarius, central to your identity is work. You need a career that you can do forever, even into retirement. And astrology also fits that. Now, the other thing that you've got here in this chart that I don't know if you're aware of this, but you've got one of the most rare placements ever, and you've got a Star of David. Star of David is a 6-sided star. It's composed of 2 triangles, one pointing upwards, and then the other one on top of it pointing downwards. And you've got these 2 grand trines creating a Star of David. So that represents a person who's got a great purpose here on Earth. That would also make you feel very frustrated, flailing about the way you are, not knowing exactly what you're doing. Because deep down you know that you have a really meaningful, profound purpose that you need to be doing. And the unease, the feeling of frustration comes from knowing that you have a great purpose and that you haven't quite seized and grasped it yet. So the first thing is that one triangle points down and the other up. So you've got to have a job where you connect with your physical self and you combine that with your spiritual self, and they meet in the middle so that you can do a job which really combines the spiritual and the physical for other people. So there's got to be some sort of spiritual aspect to your work. So you could do astrology, but you could even work as a theologian or a minister or a priest or something like that, exchanging information, ongoing learning. God and theology and spirituality and religion, you can learn forever, and you're exchanging information to serve humanity. Now, you have had that job in a past life. I see that you were a spiritual teacher and that you were stopped. So do a past life regression. You can either do it informally by going on YouTube and typing in past life regression and just listening to the file and saying, take me to the past life where I was a spiritual teacher, because your mind will take you back to that and see where you left off, because then you can pick up that purpose and continue it. Or do it very professionally. Go see a professional hypnotherapist and be taken back and say, I've got this past life that I've been told about. I want to go back to this specific past life. And then either the person will do it for you, will say, go back to that specific time, or you do it yourself. But that'll be interesting because it'll show you where you left off and it'll give you clues in terms of what you're supposed to continue with now. And also, because you've done this in a past life, you will have genuine spiritual information to share with people that will be of service and of value to them. And the reason that you haven't achieved this yet is it's a very unique purpose. You don't just go to your local guidance counselor and they say, oh yeah, you should be an astrologer or a spiritual figure or teacher. I mean, that's very difficult to discern. Now, the other thing about that Star of David, one triangle is in fire, which is passion, life, purpose, and the other one is in air. So there's got to be a combination of your intellectual abilities and capabilities, and by using them, the fire side means that you genuinely feel like this is your life purpose and you feel the passion. So you will know when you've hit the nail on the head, because it will make you feel fiery and alive and like you're doing what you're meant to be doing. And you'll know it when you feel it. So keep looking until you find that sense of fire. Oh my God, I'm now doing something that I'm excited about, that I can't wait to wake up and actually do. And that's what you need to keep looking for, and don't give up until you find that. Because you do have a great purpose here, and it's important that you discover it. Because you're going to benefit a lot of people who come in contact with you, and you can help them. So I hope that gives you an idea of what to do. If you've got any questions for me in future, please get in touch with me via my email. And if you want to leave any feedback for me, you can do that on my website. It's gregoryscott.com. Just click on the testimonials tab and you can leave a comment there. Have a wonderful week, and I'll speak to you soon.